He was scheduled at 3:30 for the MRI. So pretty sure right before the game we'll have the doctors look at him. But yeah, nothing yet.
Have you guys decided who's going to slot in for his start?
Yeah, so we're gonna take it, day by day, turn by turn. But Blackburn will take that spot on Wednesday against the Braves. He's available today out of the bullpen. See where we are after the game today. But as of right now, the plan is for him to start on Wednesday.
Jerry?
I know, obviously, you haven't seen the doctor yet, but any vibes from Kodai? Does he feel any better today than he thought he would? Any sense of how he's feeling today compared to where he was yesterday?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen him today, so I don't know.
Mike?
What does it mean to have a guy here like Blackburn? You can just slot it. I mean, you were basically had him in the rotation and then took him out for the bullpen just to be able to have a guy like that you could slot back in.
It definitely helps, important to have guys like that. And, we've been talking about our depth, and here we are again, getting tested. And there's a reason why we built him up as a starter. He made a start. Now, we put him in the bullpen. We were able to kind of keep him somehow stretched out after that outing against the Rockies on Sunday. And, yeah, I mean, we see it every time. Injuries are a part of this game. Every team will go through it, but I feel like we're equipped to handle, And obviously, we got a guy like that already on the active roster, and we got some more guys that are getting close to join the team.
Obviously, you don't want to lose a guy like Senga who's having the year he's having. Does it soften the blow, the fact that so many guys in this rotation are having very good seasons for you?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's softened. You hate to see it, especially we're talking about a guy like Senga and with the way he's been throwing the baseball. But we also feel good with the options that we got currently in place. They've been doing it the whole year. And they will continue to do so. It's part of it, like I said. But losing Senga obviously is a tough one here.
One last thing, a night like tonight, how do you decide between playing Beatty and Mauricio?
Yeah, it's day by day, Obviously, I had Mauricio down yesterday, and I felt like today I was going to give Beatty a day.
John?
As you mentioned, your pitching's been as good as anybody's, actually statistically the best. What is it about Hefner that's enabled him to really get the most out of all these guys? Everybody who's gone out there has been pretty successful.
His ability to connect, to get to know their players and meet them where they at. I feel like this is a guy that was a player itself. Played at the big league level, was hurt a lot, went through a lot of ups and downs. So he kind of understands that part, but he also is super smart, and he gets all the numbers and analytics and technology and all that. So he knows. But I think it starts with understanding his players. And how much can you present, or how much can certain guy can take? And I think that that's, as a coach, that's a quality, and it's something that it's hard to see it at times. And Hef brings that. Whether it doesn't matter your background, or he spent time and gets to know his players, and he's got a really good feel for the whole department.
Andy?
Just counting the days, you would only have Blackburn in the bullpen tonight this series then, right?
Not necessarily, because again, we'll see what happens today. If he's available, if we don't pitch him today, he could be available on a short. It wouldn't be anything, because then he'll have 3 days before he has to make a start.
And just to follow up on the Mauricio Beatty thing, are they so early in their careers where you can't really look too deep into the opposing pitcher and matchups and things? Or are you looking, in addition to just your feel for the guys, are you looking at the stuff that's going to be thrown at them that night and their own swings and strengths and weaknesses? Do you go that deep on it, or is it just more like?
At times, but no, in this case, like I've been saying it with the 13 position players that I got, it's not so much of the Mauricio Beatty conversation. I think it's just more looking at what's coming up next. And because I could go Beatty and Mauricio in the infield and put Jeff in center, but maybe, I thought today was a better day for Tyrone Taylor to be in the lineup. And then, I could start, continue to move pieces around in the next couple of days as well. So it's not so much the Mauricio Beatty, like I said, because with the way our roster is constructed right now, there's so much versatility. There's a lot of different ways I could go here. But in today specific was just more having Mauricio down yesterday, and I felt like today it was a good day for Beatty to be down. No.
Abby?
When it comes to Blackburn, if you don't use him tonight, but you use him over the weekend, could you use an appearance out of the bullpen in place of like him throwing a normal bullpen or something like that? Or is that not something you guys would want to do?
No. So he's available today, and then if we don't use him today, he's probably available tomorrow. Not so much on Sunday. So yeah, that's.
Howie?
Carlos, in addition to what you were saying about Jeremy, how would you specifically describe Desi's impact on the pitching staff and the success that you've had?
Huge, and that's another guy that, doesn't get mention or credit. Not that they want the credit, but I feel like him and Hef, they complement each other really well. We're talking about a guy that when it comes down pitch design, workloads, and with his experience in the dugout the past few years, he's one of the best at what he does as well. So having two guys like that that are in charge of the whole pitching department, but for me too in the dugout when I'm making decisions, like their opinions, I value their opinions big time. Obviously I'm the one making the final call, but having those two guys not only making impacts on the pitching staff before the game throughout the whole year, but Desi in particular has been huge for us.
Is Desi more aligned with data analytics than mechanics, or are there other ways to describe the specifics of where Desi makes his biggest contribution?
Everywhere, and I feel like when I first met him in the minor leagues, I would say more like the pitch design and the numbers and when it comes out of the technology and all that. But as he continued to develop as a coach and then spending a couple of years at the big league level with him, I saw him coaching and not only the analytics and all that, but mechanics as well, and having a feel for the game, like being in the dugout. I thought, for the past 2-3 years that he's been there, he continues to get better. And like I said, he's elite.
Did you have any initial concerns about how he and Hef would coexist?
Not really, because I'll let Hef, when we decided to have, that we were going to go that route where it's like, hey, an assistant pitching coach, I wasn't going to be the one in charge of that recruiting. I was going to, be, kind of like the last part of the interview or the whole process. But from the very beginning, I told Hef, you're going to pick this guy. You have to be the one feeling comfortable. Like it's like the bench coach. That's going to be your bench coach. And you're going to have to sign off on it. So I kind of like stay out of it for a while.
Good. Mike?
Just having Kranick back, a guy who had success when he was up before he went down. What's it mean having him back?
Yeah, it's good. I don't know that we anticipated him having been back here in these circumstances because, you lost a guy, in this case was Senga, but, when we sent him down, we were pretty straight with him. It's like, man, it's just the nature of the business. You did nothing wrong. He's been huge for us. High leverage, multiple innings, whether it's in the middle of the game, late in the game. So I'm glad that, he's getting another opportunity, and he's going to continue to get a lot of chances here because he's been huge for us.
That was just a roster squeeze when he got sent.
That's right. That was nothing. It was completely out of his control. So, and that was the messaging. Go out there. You're going to be back, and here he is.
Manny?
Just going back to Desi and Hef, just how do they distribute the work? Like, they're both pitching coaches. Do some of them take some players and another group of players, or like how is it that they work together?
Yeah, I feel like it happens organically. They having a pretty good routine and a pretty good feel for how everything is flowing now. They sit right next to each other. But like I said, if a starter's throwing a bullpen, Hef is kind of with them, and then Desi and Rossi as well, because Rossi is a huge part of this pitching group too. They're with the other guys that are playing catch, and when it comes down to putting together a game plan, Danny Barnes plays a huge role there too. So it's a special group that we got in. They communicate well. They bounce out ideas of each other. They use the training staff. again, it's a pretty special group there.
Thank you, Carlos. David Stearns will be in momentarily. Questions for David? Andy?
Carlos told us he didn't have the result yet on Senga, but do you have any indication of the severity you're dealing with, or are you just waiting on that?
We're just waiting on that. And yeah, I imagine with all these things, we try to run it through various physicians, try to get as many opinions as possible. He might be in the tube right now, so we don't have anything.
John?
I was going to say that could be it. You guys, you don't have to come up with something here, John.
No, I got plenty more with that.
Okay.
Your expectations for the pitching were much higher than most of ours, but have they exceeded your expectations? And how much a part of that is Jeremy Hefner, you think?
Have they exceeded my? I don't know that. I don't know that I could come into a season and say that I expected our starting staff to have a sub-3 ERA. I expect us to have a good starting rotation, a good pitching rotation, but sure, I think a sub-3 ERA probably exceeds my expectations, especially when you add on the injuries we had in camp. But I also saw reason to believe that each of the guys who were in the rotation mix could and would be successful. You never know whether it's going to work, but we had reason to believe for all of them that there were things that they could do, things that in certain cases we could help them do, that would lead them to success and be able to contribute to a winning rotation. And in terms of where Hef comes into this, he's been outstanding. Hef, our entire pitching group, Desi, Rosie, Danny Barnes is part of this, our catching infrastructure, Sherrills is part of this, being able to communicate with pitchers, and I've talked about this before, really meeting them where they are, understanding what each pitcher is looking to achieve, where they are in their careers, how they want to get better, and working with them to help them be the best versions of themselves. And I think Hef does that extremely well and is aided by a really talented group around him as well.
Mike?
David, obviously a lot can happen, and I mean we saw that yesterday with Senga, but just how mentally challenging is it for you trying to put puzzle pieces together right now? Because even with Senga down, you're potentially going to have more starting pitchers here than slots, and just what's the mental challenge of that right now?
It's not that much of a mental challenge. I mean, there are. It's a good thing to have more major league quality starting pitchers than less. I'm frankly never really concerned about having too much because as we saw last night and as I've experienced throughout my career, it's very, very rare where you actually get to the point where you have too many starting pitchers than you can roster. And if somehow at some point we get to that this season, I'll have to make some decisions, and I imagine those will be difficult decisions. But for now, I am very happy with how the group that we've had to this point has pitched. I'm excited that we continue to get healthier and get guys like Frankie and then ultimately Sean back in the rotation. I think that will make us stronger, certainly deeper. And so that's where my mind is right now. If we do get to the point where everyone is healthy at once, then yes, that will lead to some challenging decisions.
And a couple of IL guys, Winker and Siri, kind of where are they at right now?
Yeah. So Wink continues to progress through his movement screens, his hitting progressions. I think we're still multiple weeks away from a rehab assignment there on Wink. On Siri, Siri's had a little bit of a setback. We had it re-imaged this past week, showed the bone had not healed as well as we had hoped. So we're gonna have to back him off of running, of baseball activities here for a little while. We're gonna have to get it re-imaged in a couple weeks and then restart his progression. So we're a ways away on Siri.
Laura?
You've had a few pitchers who are considered just successful reclamation projects. Is there a specific skill set or personality type that you look for when you're targeting these guys for improvement?
I think it undersells who these guys are when we look at them or label them as reclamation projects. The pitchers who have come in here and have had success are really talented major league pitchers and had proven prior to coming here that they were really talented major league pitchers at various points in their careers. Maybe not for the sustained periods that they would have liked or expected of themselves, but these are very talented pitchers. And so that's the common thread among all of them, is that they're good pitchers, they have good stuff, they've had success at the major league level, and maybe there are things that they had gotten away from, or maybe there are things that we noticed that we can help them get a little bit better at. But the underlying commonality among all of them is that they're talented, and they come in here and they've worked hard, and for the most part, we've had some decent results out of it.
Howie?
David, as you look ahead the next 2-3 months, is the success that kids like Tong and McLean are having in the minor leagues put them in a situation where they're mutually exclusive from the numbers of experienced major league pitchers that you have around here and that are coming back, to the point that they would be less likely, assuming continued success, to even potentially force their way onto the staff because you have veterans here? Or is there still an opening for either, both, or others to somehow ascend to the big leagues this year?
I think we are going to make those types of decisions based exclusively on who and what grouping of players gives us the best chance to win. And so if we have a prospect that gets to the point that we believe gives us the best chance to win over someone else, we are going to strongly consider that. With that said, I think the volume of established major league pitchers we have makes that a steeper hill to climb for a prospect at this point. We have pitchers at the major league level who we really believe in, who have proven that they can pitch at a high level. And so for a prospect to jump that, especially in the independent race, is a high bar. Not an impossible bar, but it's a high bar.
John?
Blackburn is needed in the rotation now, I guess, for probably Wednesday. Wanted to ask what the interest level from outside teams was when he was briefly in the bullpen, and also we don't know the severity of the injury for Senga. We can assume he's going to go on the IL. I think that's
Senga's going on the IL. Yeah, we placed him on the IL. Right. Yeah. Okay. And Max Kranick is back here. And I'm not going to comment on any conversations that may or may not have happened.
Abby?
What kind of reports have you been getting on Montas throughout his rehab assignment?
I think he's still feeling his way back. This was a fairly significant lat injury. He did a good job working through his progression, and I think he's still searching a little bit. And so we've got another one to tonight, and then we'll have another one likely, I think, next week. And those are two big outings for him. But I think physically we're probably trending in the right direction, and now it's just getting him back into the rhythm. This is very similar to a spring training ramp-up, where you try not to focus on results too much early in the ramp, and then as you get a little bit later in the ramp, you'd like to start seeing outs, and I think that's where Frankie is right now.
So he'll have two more. I'm trying to count the numbers in my head, but I'm not good at doing math. Would that be sort of the end of his rehab clock?
I think we'll take it there. I mean, we got to make sure we have a healthy player and a player who is ready to compete at the major league level. So we definitely have one more. I think we likely have two more, and then we'll take it from there.
On a different note, you've known Tyrone Taylor for a very long time. What did you see in him back when he was with the Brewers, and is this what you expected, what he would be doing defensively?
Yeah, this is the same player, and it's the same person that I got to know back in Milwaukee. It's a very talented outfielder who can play all three positions at a high level. He does a lot of the little things that help you win baseball games, and he's done that throughout his career. He's a very good teammate. Guys love being around him. He'll fill any role on the team, and it does seem like every night he's doing something. Even if it doesn't show up in the box score, he's doing something to help us win.
He was a little bit of a late bloomer. Just why do you think that was?
And I think that's fair. Look, he's drafted out of high school. It took him a little time to get going in his career. He had some injuries throughout his minor league progression, and he's one of those guys that used up his minor league reserve years, then used up all three option years as he was breaking into the major leagues before he really completely solidified himself as a major league player. And so it did take him a little while to get going, but with the end product of that is a really good major league player who helps us win games.
Tim?
Senga obviously had the 2 long IL stints last year. What did you learn about the way he likes to rehab that you can apply, however long he's out this time?
Senga, as a lot of players, but particularly Senga, he wants to be involved in the process. And I think it's important that we get on the same page as him from the jump, and that we're all bought into what this process is going to look like. I think we got there last year, but anytime you're going through this multiple times, I certainly know Senga a lot better now than I did last year. Our medical staff has now worked through a rehab progression and a rehab process with him already on multiple occasions. So I think we feel pretty comfortable that whatever this turns out to be, we're going to be able to work very productively with him to get him back healthy.
Manny?
Just Brandon Sproat had a difficult, a rough start to the season, has settled down the last 3-4 starts. Just what have you seen from him recently?
I think he's getting back to a couple of different things that he did very well in AA. The first is he's attacking, and the second is he's using the entirety of his arsenal pretty well. So we saw the curveball come out a little bit more last night, which we think is a good pitch for him, important. At the appropriate times, he's leaning on the changeup when that is the needed pitch. He's not just trying to blow fastballs by guys. And this is a talented pitcher with multiple weapons, and sometimes you need to learn again and again that you need to lean on your entire arsenal. He's got 3 above-average pitches, and when he's using all 3 at the appropriate time, he's really effective.
Keith?
Right now, Jose Castillo is the only lefty in the bullpen. I know Brooks Raley's coming back, but you didn't want to lose A.J. Minter and Danny Young for the season, but how do you see the future of that spot in the bullpen, and do you need a lefty or multiple lefties down the stretch?
We need guys who can get left-handed hitters out. Often that is people who throw with the left hand, but it doesn't have to be. Like we pursued aggressively and acquired A.J. Minter for a reason, right? We thought he fit us very well. He was doing exactly what we had hoped he was going to do and filling that role. Losing him is a big loss, and we're not going to be able to explicitly replace what he meant to our team. So we're going to have to figure out a way to cobble that together. Whether it's in August, September, October, we're going to be facing very good left-handed hitters in leverage spots, and we're going to have pitchers who can get them out. Some of those guys are probably on our roster right now. And then to the extent we can continue to balance our pen with additional players who can get lefties out, we're going to look to do that.
Jerry.
David over here. What else, in addition to good health, has allowed David Peterson to emerge as the pitcher he's become for you guys? And what does his success after almost 10 years with this organization say and do for a player development system?
I think first and foremost is a testament to the perseverance and dedication that David has demonstrated over that time. And he's worked incredibly hard to get to this point in his career. Good health is a big part of it. I think he also fully understands who he is as a pitcher. And he does so many little things well as a pitcher. He fills up the zone. He throws multiple fastballs for strikes. He controls the running game. He keeps the ball on the ground. And so you add up all of those little things, in addition to I think sometimes like his stuff package gets undersold a little bit, but he's flashing pretty decent stuff most nights. So I think you add all of that up, and you have a really good major league pitcher. That's what he's demonstrated.
Andrew?
How would you assess what you've seen from Ronnie Mauricio since he's been up at the major league level?
This is, I think, more or less what we expected from Ronnie. There are flashes of real excitement. He's contributed to wins. You can see the potential for a really exciting baseball player. And we also recognize that this is a player who hadn't played baseball for a year and a half and still has development remaining. There's going to be some challenges controlling the strike zone. He's still getting comfortable playing defensively. We're challenging him to play multiple positions. He's getting work at multiple positions. That's not easy to do at the major league level. But the future is really bright for Ronnie, and the fact that he's able to contribute to a very good team at the major league level this shortly after coming back from an extensive injury is pretty cool.
You've talked about the need to play, through your development. How do you kind of weigh that, obviously, with Mark being on, approaching his return with some of those younger guys, who gets playing time, maybe who goes back down to AAA?
Yeah, it's a constant discussion, and the playing time carousel and puzzle is one that you're always talking about. And we've got a bunch of good players on the infield, a bunch of good young players on the infield. I'm actually pretty pleased with how they've all gotten a fairly substantial amount of playing time over these first couple months in the season. And when Mark comes back, we're going to have to make another decision about how to allocate that playing time, but we'll make that decision when we need to.
Mike?
Since Keith brought up Raley, where is he close to a minor league rehab assignment yet? Where is he in?
So he's throwing his lives. I think if all goes well, he could be looking at a rehab assignment some point next week. I think that to begin. But this is he's also coming back from a significant surgery. So this is not a short rehab assignment. I think this is we got to go through a full, again, spring training ramp, make sure he's ready to go. So could start next week, but you might be looking at a full 30 days there.
Okay. The other thing is, what do you think of the season Pete is having? And could you envision there being contract talks during the season, or do you think it's just going to wait until after the season to see what happens?
I'm not going to touch any sort of contract talk discussion, but he's having a tremendous year, and he he's been an enormous offensive component of our team. I think our lineup is now, as a whole, functioning at a really high level, and as we envisioned. And like Pete's been right in the middle of all of it since day one. He's, I think, really taken his offensive game to another level, and it's been fun to see.
Laura?
You've had a number of pitchers who've outstripped their expected ERA. I was wondering how you look at that metric and whether you think it has value in determining where the season's going to go, essentially.
I don't look at expected ERA a lot. I think certainly there are different predictive metrics help inform us on different things. For the most part, we're largely focused on what is coming out of the pitcher's hand. Are they throwing strikes? How are they throwing strikes? And so I don't look at our staff and see pitchers based on what they've done to this point in the season who are vastly overachieving. I think by and large, our staff has deserved the results they've gotten. That's performing at a very high level, and to maintain these results going forward, we're going to have to continue to perform at a very high level. But I don't look at any particular pitcher and saying this person is vastly over or getting more credit or overachieving what he deserves to be doing right now.
Very good. Thank you very much, David.
Thanks.